Alright, so tonight we're going to be doing some work on the WK. This thing's done really well off-roading despite how little I've actually done to it. You know, all it has is like a 2-inch lift and 31-inch tires, but it's pretty capable just with that. But one of the things I've noticed is I banged up the rockers pretty bad when we were doing Rattlesnake, and so we're going to do something about that tonight. We were so happy with how the rock sliders we did on the ZJ worked out, so we're going to try and do something similar with the WK. I got some rock sliders here off of Wrangler. I got these off of Facebook Marketplace for like 10 bucks. And then I got a bunch of metal. That metal cost like $80. It's more than what I need for this because I got some extra that I need for other projects. Probably what I need for this is closer to like 50 or 60 bucks. So anyway, less than 100 bucks, and you know, should have some rock sliders. So, but right now, the WK, unlike on the WJ, the Overland has actual rock sliders on it. The WK, this little gray part here, is not metal. This is just plastic. So that's got to come off. We'll get that off, and then we'll see what we got. Not a whole lot holding this thing on. As you can see. I don't know what holds it underneath. There's little Christmas trees in there somewhere. Oh yeah. Let me get a flat screwdriver and we can just pop those out. Yeah. Alright, let's see if we can pop these things out. Should be pretty easy. That's what they always say. You can see like this whole thing flexing as I'm prying against it. You can also see right up here where I bashed the crap out of this thing. So I'm going to need to straighten that out. That pinch weld is almost folded completely over there. That one hit me in the ear at high velocity.
Here, let me see that. I'll grab this last one.
You'd be surprised. Push that little plastic thing. Alright. Hey, oh, sure. All the others come out. You gotta break it off. Alright. Now we see what we got to work with. So there's actually even more clearance because of that. Yeah. So really, what I want in this case is I want to put the rock slider up as high as I can possibly get it, like the top of it almost even with that if I can, just so it clears the door, because I don't want to lose any
with the pinch weld.
Any ground clearance. Well, that's going to be, I don't mind if the pinch weld is lower, because we're going to put a piece of metal along there too. Yeah. So that's going to act as like almost a slider for that. And then I'm going to put, yeah, the rock slider itself. See, because these are like, I don't know, how many inches? That many inches? See? That'll be about right.
It's going to be a big cut for that.
Yep, but yeah, we're going to cut that and everything else. But wow.
Straighten
this.
Look
at what I did to that. Holy cow.
Do you have an adjustable branch?
Yeah, I do. I bashed that one good. Alright, yep, let's do that. So cut through here and fit a support in that comes back to here. So I definitely need to replace whatever I cut out of here because this is definitely a structural component. That's a pretty major structural component on these. I mean, obviously the frame is the frame is way beefier on this Jeep than on like the ZJ too. You notice that? Yeah. It's pretty strong looking. But anyway, same thing on the back. There's this we're going to cut a notch through this whole thing and run a square tube back to the frame, and then we're going to put a piece of angle all along the pinch weld, which should give us a really nice strength and also will give us something good to weld into. We might not need to go very deep into this tube. It depends. depending on where this line up. I may just have to go through the pinch weld, but we'll see how that works once we start fitting it up.
Seems like I can line these up on this.
So where are you at? Try and line the end of it up with that mark I made all the way on the left side. Yeah, so I'm not going to be able to put them up unless I put them out like that, because they're hitting this piece here. Let me just look at that real quick. Yeah, that'll be fine. Like right there, ideally, is where I want it.
Looks good up here.
All right, I'm going to mark some stuff.
It's already up pretty high.
I gotta look at stuff here for a minute, so okay, you can let it down. All right, so I got this side of the pinch weld cleaned up, mostly. Probably needs a little more cleaning because it's been a couple days since I did that actually. And now I just gotta do the same thing on the back side, where I'm gonna be welding up here. So I need to clean the paint off of all of this right up there, so I can get a good weld on it. So I'm going to do that now. All right, now that I got that all ground up, shiny looking, I think I need to get this piece that I cut of angle for reinforcing. Need to get that thing up there, clamp it in place, and then it'll be time to tack it on. Anyway. Right up on here. That lines up with all those drain holes. So I need to figure out how I'm going to clamp this on here so I can weld it in place. Figure that out. Alright, I think that's about where I need it to be on the back here. So I'm going to go ahead and tack it on there, and then I'm going to move the clamp up and tack it here and just kind of move forward and hopefully get it lined up good. So yeah, just push it up as best you can right there. And I'm going to try and clamp it down. I pushed it down a little bit, but I think, again, that's just because it's bent, so I think that's going to have to do. Alright, so I'm going to lay some more tacks in there. Whew. Awesome. So there we go. Now, this thing is tacked on. Now I just gotta weld it on the rest of the way. Yeah, so...
Muffler's a rock slider.
Oh yeah, exactly. The muffler's definitely a rock slider.
But that'll definitely, yeah, hit there, and that'll help protect that. But then, yeah, like I was saying, the other thing is a lot of times you'll get rocks up in your rockers or doors, and that's why I want the rail out here to protect that. This Jeep is actually fairly well designed because they put the rocker panel up so high. They had that plastic cover down here that covered that, and so I hit that a couple times, but the plastic cover would just bend up out of the way and then come back. So this one, they actually put the rocker up a lot higher, so it's kind of cool. It's like, it has some pretty good clearance already. Anyway, onward. More welding in my future. All right, so after a lot of welding and a lot of grinding, I think I got it to the point where I'm going to call it good enough. These are some ugly welds. I'm not proud of this at all. Even when I do quote unquote nice welds, I'm not so great at making them look nice, and I mean these are not good. They don't look good, but I think they'll be plenty strong. It's nice and hot from grinding, but that's not going anywhere. It's on there all the way along the front of the pinch weld. It's plug welded where there were those holes in the pinch weld, and all the way along the top in the back it's also welded. So that thing's not going anywhere. I may have overdone it a little bit with the welding when I do the other side. I don't know, I might not do the whole thing. I might just stitch it. I'm probably going to do all the way across the back because I don't want like dirt and stuff getting in there, getting trapped from the top. But on the front, I might just stitch it along, you know, various places. I don't know if I'll do it. But this pinch weld on this side was so bent and mangled. There were some massive gaps, like between, like, I tried to clamp it on, but even so, there were some pretty massive gaps between like the pinch weld and the metal. I mean, so I put a lot of material in some of these places. That's why it's, you know, they're so giant and bulbous. But you know what? It's going to be underneath the vehicle and behind the rock rail. And now I'm going to paint it. And it's going to be painted black, so never going to even see it. So I think I got it good enough at this point. I'm going to clean all this up, tape off probably along the top of the door sill here, and then coat it from all the way here, all the way down, all the way in the back. And I'm going to paint it with Rust-Oleum brush-on bed liner. Same thing I used on the front bumper on the WJ. So I think that'll work really nice. So that's what I'm going to do now. So this is the stuff that I used on the bumper on the WJ. It's Rust-Oleum bed liner. Comes in a little can, or you can get bigger cans. And when I did it on the WJ on the bumper, I just cleaned the metal, got it all nice and clean with some mineral spirits, and then, you know, let that dry off of there, and then just did this. And that, you know, you do multiple coats. I did a coat, then I let it dry for a little while, because the first coat you can still see brush marks. But then, you know, the next coat I'll go, you know, one way, next coat I'll go the other way. Just kind of keep switching it up until you get a nice good coating on there. And it's held up really well in the bumper, so I think it'll work really good for coating the bottoms of the rocker panels and that little pinch weld reinforcement piece. All right, so I did decide to prep the painted spot a little bit more, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right along here where I have this black line. I couldn't find my painter's tape, so I'm using electrical tape. We'll see how it works out. Anyway, all I did was I just took, this is actually like a drywall sponge, sanding sponge. It's like 220 grit, and I just rubbed that all over the paint just to kind of scuff the surface and, you know, maybe give stuff a little better adherence. You know, I washed it off first with like a little bit of Dawn and water, and then now I scuffed the surface, and now I'm just going to wipe that dust off, wipe that off, and then wipe down the whole thing with mineral spirits and see what happens. I don't know, we'll see how that works. It's not like it's a pro job. I ain't Robbie Layton by any means, so I'm just seeing what I can come up with and to give it a little better chance of maybe staying on there. So I don't know, that seems like a good idea, so we'll see how it works out. The beauty of this stuff is it doesn't have to be perfect because it makes a nice textured finish. So it's got almost like sand in it. So when it like dries, it has a really nice textured finish. All right, so I got the first coat on. You can see it right there. Let's see how that's gonna look. Now this stuff, this Rust-Oleum bed liner, it does dry glossy, which kind of surprised me the first time I used it, because a lot of bed liners, you know, will get dull, but it's, you know, it looks, I like how it looks still. But that is one thing I noticed. It does have like a glossy finish to it. They make a couple different types though, so I don't know, there might be another one that isn't as glossy. But anyway, so you can see I got the first coat on, and I don't know if you can see very well, but there's little spots like right there and there where you can see like the silver of the paint, you know, still shining through, and up there. So that's what I was talking about. It definitely is going to need a second coat. If I do it now, it just smears the stuff around there that's on there, so it doesn't really help. But once you get it, you let that dry, and then you can put your second coat on. It really starts to, you know, take on a nice textured finish. And so anyway, so that's what that looks like. And there's the that reinforcing piece. This is just the first piece of the rock sliders, and so that right there will reinforce that pinch weld, and it's also going to give me a nice solid piece to weld the supports onto. I'm going to make them go all the way back to the frame, but that'll be a lot easier to weld to than the pinch weld or that sheet metal. So that's my idea, my thought with that. So we'll see how that works out once this dries up and I put the other coat on it. But here, let me back up for just a second, and I'll close the doors, because this is cool too. Even though that's like that, the doors don't contact any of that, because the door seal is way up here, and so the door doesn't even contact that, so I can close the doors even when it's wet and it doesn't get in the way. But anyway, there you go. That's how that part is going to look with it, the door closed. I think that's going to look real nice, and I tried to maintain the same line there just at the bottom of the door, and the same thing on the back. And then on the interior, in the back here, there's like this little bend in the metal, and I kind of followed that up right there, so that's why that, you know, kind of goes up there as well. So I think that'll look really nice once it's all dried up. Anyway, one more look at the that metal piece on there, how we got it welded in there. And then I'll take you underneath and I'll show you the back side too. So underneath, I got something similar. I didn't worry too much about doing a straight line under here because it's just, you know, underneath. But that's, you know, painted right there. And then you can see the bed liner goes right there, so there's no bare metal. I tried to, like I mentioned before, I took these little cutouts because there's these bulges in the pinch weld, which are, I think, like drains so moisture can get out. Because as you can see up there, there's holes like in the back of this rocker panel, so, you know, moisture and dirt is going to get in there, so it needs somewhere to go. I didn't want to close those off and have them just piling up in the bottom of here. So there's another one back there and back there. But anyway, so that's welded by the side of each of these and then all the way along the top. So that piece is not going anywhere, I don't think so. So next up, like I said, I'm going to let that dry. Probably put on at least one more coat. And then start working on actually getting the rock sliders on there, which will sit out probably right about out here, just outside this edge. And they'll sit like right about there, maybe just barely come out past the doors. So they should hope, you know, but they'll provide protection so that if I come down on anything on the side, it doesn't go into my rocker or my doors. Anyway, that's all I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to get cleaned up and then work on the rest a little later, another day.